What's up everyone, I'm Dan and thanks to Koei Tecmo for the review code for Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly Remake on the Nintendo Switch 2. There are horror games that rely on cheap shocks, and then there are horror games that crawl under your skin and stay there long after you've put the controller down. Fatal Frame 2 belongs firmly in the second category. This is a game built on dread, melancholy and unease, taking the already haunting foundation of the original and rebuilding it into something far more striking, more polished and far more atmospheric. At the heart of the game is one of the most unsettling settings in modern horror. Minakami Village is the kind of place that feels wrong the moment you arrive, a decaying and abandoned location steeped in tragedy, folklore and ritual horror. Personally, I would be going in the complete opposite direction and not venturing deeper into this place. The game does a great job of making every area feel oppressive and dangerous. The visual overhaul plays a huge part in that success. The remake looks beautiful with richly detailed environments, carefully crafted character models, and a strong use of light and shadow that makes the village feel alive in the worst possible way. It is grim, airy, and often genuinely gorgeous. The colour palette is muted and cold, yet the world never feels dull. Instead, it has a bleak beauty to it, as though the game is daring you to keep looking at places you really should not linger in. The ghosts too benefit from the visual upgrade. They're more disturbing, more defined and more threatening than ever, and the overall result is a game that constantly feels like it's watching you back. Sound design is another major strength. The 3D audio and airy ambient effects do a fantastic job of making the village feel inhabited by things you cannot see. You hear footsteps, whispers, creaks and faint distortions in the distance, and those sounds do a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to building tension. Every area feels like it might hide something awful just around the corner. That sense of anticipation is often more effective than the actual scares. Horror lives and dies by atmosphere, and this remake understands that better than most. The story of twin sisters Mio and Mayu remains the emotional core of the experience. Their bond gives the game a more personal edge, especially with the new holding hands with Mayu mechanic, which adds a small but meaningful human touch to the journey. It helps reinforce the connection between the sisters and makes the tragedy surrounding them more intimate. The added side stories and new areas also deepen the world nicely, giving more texture to the village and making the whole package feel a little more complete than before. Exploration is where the game often shines brightest. Moving through Minakami Village feels tense but rewarding, with smart environmental design and good signposting helping to guide you without ever stripping away the sense of danger. The game encourages careful searching, backtracking and paying attention to details, and it makes every new room feel like a potential source of both answers and terror. There is a satisfying rhythm to creeping through the village, finding scraps of lore, discovering hidden items, and slowly piecing together what happened there. It is a classic survival horror structure, but handled with real confidence. The remake also makes good use of modern control ideas. In handheld mode, the gyro controls are a nice option and can make aiming feel a little more tactile. Why this only works in handheld mode though is beyond me. HD Rumble meanwhile feels excellent. It adds a subtle physicality to the experience that makes encounters with spirits feel a bit more immediate and unsettling. These smaller touches may not define the game, but they certainly help strengthen the overall immersion. Unfortunately, when the game shifts into combat, that spell can start to break. The camera obscura remains a clever and distinctive mechanic, and on paper it still has a lot going for it. Framing goes through a lens, timing shots for maximum damage, and using focus, zoom and filters gives the game a system that is more thoughtful than the average action horror setup. In theory, it's a brilliant combat style, part photography, part survival, part panic. In practice though, it can feel fiddly. Aiming does not always feel as precise or as smooth as it should, and there are moments where fighting ghosts becomes more frustrating than frightening. The camera obscura can be awkward to use in the heat of the moment, especially when enemies are close or when the game traps you in tighter spaces. Instead of feeling like a tense duel, some encounters feel like wrestling with the controls while a ghost slowly wears you down. The bigger issue is pacing. Combat can drag on for too long, and once the novelty starts to wear off, some fights feel like a chore. Rather than building suspense, drawn out battles can deflate it, especially when enemies feel like they're taking far too many shots to put down. What should be a sharp, terrifying encounter can become an exhausting waiting game, and oftentimes I just wanted to run away and get to the next section. With all that said, it's hard to walk away from Fatal Frame 2 feeling anything less than impressed by what it gets right. This is a horror game with a remarkable sense of place, a strong visual identity, and an atmosphere that is nearly suffocating in the best possible way. Its remade presentation gives the original story a fresh layer of paint, and its exploration remains genuinely compelling throughout. The combat may stumble, but the overall experience still leaves a strong impression. This is not the kind of horror game that relies on constant action or flashy spectacle. It is slower, quieter, and more patient than that. Fatal Frame 2 is a beautiful, airy, and deeply atmospheric return to one of horror's most memorable settings. It is let down by awkward and sometimes overlong combat, but its strengths are strong enough to carry it. For fans of the series or anyone who enjoys their horror unsettling rather than loud, this remake is absolutely worth experiencing. Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly Remake is out now on the Nintendo eShop, priced at $44.99 in the UK and $49.99 in the US. Big thanks once again to Koei Tecmo for the review code. Thanks to you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the review. Don't forget to hit that like button, and until next time.